Okay, another episode of rental house versus high income ETFs or just income ETFs. And that should say income ETFs and option trading because I'm adding some option trading to this. Try to boost the return and reduce the margin I use. We'll talk about that in a minute. Before we go too far, subscribe if you haven't. And then this is not financial advice, just me being reckless with my money. And we'll jump over here to a screenshot of my Robinhood account. So, real quick, back in November 2024, kind of finished up selling most of our rental properties. One of the last houses we sold, we netted about 70,000 and we took that money, put it into some ETFs. And my theory was that the ETF distributions would be better than collecting rent. Mostly that's been true, except for like a month ago, but we'll look at those numbers in a minute. But even if it was dead even, I'd still be happy because I wouldn't have to be dealing with renters anymore. So, and this house represents kind of a little bit of a smaller scale what we're doing with some other money we got from some other rental properties. So this is kind of reflection of that. And I was doing this before, and then I was kind of thinking to myself, like, I should keep track of this. And so when we sold the last house, I did start keeping track, and it's been about a year and a half now. We'll look at these numbers. So actually, we'll look right now. So we started with 70,000. We're at 98,000. If you would have tuned in about 2 weeks ago, this was down, I think, below 80,000. Things were looking pretty sad and everything, but it bounced back and now it's back up to 98,000. It was up over 100,000 at one time, maybe about 6 weeks ago, and it got down below 80,000 like a week or two ago. Now it's back up to 98. And I've been doing some changes here, and we'll get to those in a minute. This is what I'm holding. Right now, I only have one option, a cover call on SPYI. I had a bunch of cash secured puts on, like AMZU, and I think TQQQ or UPRO, and I can't remember everything else. But when the market shot way up, I went ahead and closed out of those option trades. So I only got one option trade here right now. If the market dips, I'll do some more cash secured puts and see how that goes. And I have some AMZU right now, and my cost basis for this is $31 a share. And right now it's like at 38 or 39. So Monday on April 20th, I'm going to probably sell these here 400 shares and get this money back toward the margin. So we'll look at that in a minute. And then I have some cover calls here on this SoFi stock. I only have 5 cover calls, and I should do 3 more tomorrow, like at a 25 strike price. Should be able to get some pretty decent premium, I think. I don't know. We'll see. My goal is to get rid of these SoFi shares at my cost basis, which is, I think, at $23 a share. And that all sounds complicated, maybe, but I have other videos about trading options, and I'm trying not to confuse anybody. But originally, I just started out with using cover call ETFs, and that's what these are here: QDTE, AIPI, SPYI, QQQI, MAGY, and TDAQ. Now, I am slowly kind of liquidating some of these more, I won't call them volatile, but the ones that lose the NAV a little bit. So basically QDTE, AIPI, and MAGY, I'm kind of thinning those out. And then I'm going to be adding the money to TDAQ, QQQI, and SPYI going in the future. And I might add another fund that is really friendly for tax purposes because this is a taxable account. So basically, if it has like 100% of return of capital, that's what I want because I don't want to pay income tax on the returns. And that's I should make an update video about return of capital and how that works. But the option money I get is 100% taxed at ordinary income, so that's not good. So this is not a video about taxes, so we'll keep on going here. I think I covered everything I want to cover here. We'll get more about how much margin I have and stuff in a minute. So this is the distributions I've received so far in April. So we're down here around the 20th. Should be getting one here for MAGY tomorrow. But these here added together along with this option income, so I've had a really good month with option income, $150. You add all this together, this is $23.52. So without getting too deep into what I'm doing, you see this margin interest here, I pay $305. When I use margin to do cash secured puts, I don't have to pay interest on that money, that collateral, unless I end up buying the shares. So like I did buy the AMZU shares and the SoFi shares, so I got to pay interest on that. So that's why I'm going to sell the AMZU shares on Monday, but I've made about $2,500 on that, on the price appreciation, because my basis is $31. That's basically what I paid for it. And right now it's trading for like 38. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. And then I'll free that money up and then do some more cash secured puts, but I'll wait till the market dips down a little bit. So how are things going? So I have each of these ETFs here, so you can see what the year-to-date return is, and you see QQQ is up 3.6%, and AIPI is down 3.77, MAGY is down 7.54. And you can see for 2025, I was up 36% when the S&P was up 20%. In 2026, I'm up 3.17%, and I actually think this is wrong. I think I'm up higher than that, but you can see how it compares to the SPYI and the QQQ, and that's kind of what I compare it to. So anyhow, I said we'd talk about margin here a little bit more. So I've sold some shares of some of those funds, like I told you, QDTE. I'm down to 400 shares here. And then MAGY, same thing. I think I was at 400 and I'm down to 250. I did add some to TDAQ. I do have a slide that shows the balances of that, but I must deleted it accidentally. But so I'm working to get this margin down to being 50% of my equity. So over here is all my projected ideas. At the beginning of the project, I projected like how things should be going. And then I recalculated on January 1st with the numbers they were at January 1 and going forward. So my plan is to earn 0.751% each week. And people say that's impossible and everything else. Well, it might be. Seems like it might be. But anyhow, that's my goal. So here in May was my goal to get this to 50%, my margin. So this number here is the margin. This here is my equity. So basically, if I sold everything, the equity is how much money I'd walk away with after I paid off the margin. So this is what I projected over here. And over here is how things are actually going. So this is where we're at on the date, around April 17th. We're sitting at 98,000 in equity. I projected we'd be at 108. We're using 61,000 in margin instead of 54, almost 55. Total invested is about where I thought I would be. The gain last week was 9%. I've gained actually 9% each of the past 3 weeks. And I think this formula, and that could be right. I was thinking that should be higher than that. But we had like a 21% dip here. I told you I was below 80,000. I was down to 75,000 apparently. So anyhow, tomorrow I will be selling those $15,000 in AMZU shares, and that will make this margin go way down to almost 45 or 46,000. But that won't affect this here at all. The equity will stay the same. Now this number over here will go down, the total invested. So what I will probably do is sell those AMZU shares and then wait for a little bit of a market dip, like of 1 or 2 or 3%, and then I'll invest some more money back into either SPYI or QQQI or TDAQ, or like I said, I might add a fourth fund because eventually I'm going to eliminate the QDTE, the MAGY, and the AIPI and go with one that has a more steady NAV and pays maybe about 12 to 16%. So there's a few good ones out there like GPIQ or GPIX, perhaps one of those maybe. But I got to check the return of capital, make sure that does what I want to do. That is that. And this is about comparing how I would have did versus the rental house. So if I would have kept the rental house, we'd be collecting $800 a month, about be paying $450 a month in expenses. We didn't have a mortgage, so we didn't have any mortgage expenses. So this would be like the cash balance here. This would be the equity because each month the equity would go up a couple $100. I got that calculated here. And so that house probably would have grown about 83,000 if I would have kept it after all the expenses. And people say, where do you get those expenses from? Well, they're basically averages off from my tax returns from the year 2021, 22, 23. We sold the house in 24, so I didn't really get a good average from that year. We did put about $15,000 into the house before we sold it. So if you kind of do the math, over a 3-year period, we were paying like almost $700 a month in that house toward expenses and repairs, and we were only getting like $750 a month in rent for it. So basically, we were kind of breaking even. So that's one of the reasons why I'm happy that we sold it. And my time is not figured in there because I spend a lot of time fixing things that shouldn't have needed fixing, like broken windows and plugged up drains and things like that. And because I like to travel and be gone a lot, there's no good rental management places around here. It was just better to sell the properties. But I do want to add a little bit of disclaimer there. Even though I'm glad to be done with the rental properties, they did make us quite a bit of money over the years. And when I was younger and had time, I felt a little bit more ambitious of fixing water heaters and things. It wasn't that bad of a deal. And you can really take advantage of leverage. That is, borrow most of the money and then let the appreciation make the money for you. And I do have a video out there how basically we turned one rental house into like 8. And basically we had the one house paid off. We use that money for collateral and then buy another one, fix it up, refinance that for like 100%, pull the money out of our first house that was paid off free and clear. And then we'd use that money again, that collateral, to buy another house. And we'd fix that up, refinance for 100% financing. And even though I say 100% financing, I mean 100% of our expenses that we got into it. And the house would probably appraise for more. So let's say the house is worth 100,000. We would pick it up for like 40, put like 20,000 into it. So we'd have like maybe 60,000 into it. We'd refinance it for like 65,000, get all of our money out of it, but it's worth 100,000. And then we would free up the collateral from the first house and then just do that again. So we did that like 5, 6, 7, 8 times using one house over and over to generate portfolio of about 6 or 7 houses plus a 5-unit apartment building plus a duplex, some other things. So worked out well. So I'm not totally anti-rental property. Anyhow, to date, our ETFs are up $15,251. That's from November of 2024, so about a year and a half. So probably like $1,000 a month on the plus side. And this is not from the 70,000. If I took the math from the 70,000, we'd be up almost 30,000 in about a year and a half. So you're looking at almost $2,000 a month or 1,800 or something like that. Whatever it is, it's a lot better than the rental house. So just remember, I'm just, some random guy on the internet being reckless. It's not financial advice or tax advice or legal advice. These are just examples of stuff I use. So that wraps it up, and we'll see you in the next video.